So let's talk about January 14th. On that day, a massive service disruption slammed one of the country's biggest wireless carriers. We're talking hundreds of thousands of people just completely cut off. Today, we're going to break down exactly what happened during that huge Verizon outage. I mean, just imagine it for a second. You're going about your day, you reach for your phone to make a call, send a text, check the map, and you get nothing. It's just a brick. For a ton of Verizon customers, that was this sudden, shocking reality. And as you can imagine, it kicked off a huge wave of confusion and, frankly, frustration all across the country. So, what in the world happened? Let's get right into the details of this nationwide disruption. We're going to see how a single failure in one network can create this massive ripple effect that's felt literally from coast to coast. Yeah, the outage hit the two things we need our phones for most. Voice services, actually making and getting calls, they just went down. And data services, our lifeline to the internet for pretty much everything else, well, they just disappeared. This wasn't some little local glitch either. Reports started flooding in from all over. Now, you might be wondering, how do we even know how widespread this was so quickly? Well, the answer is this really cool platform called Down Detector. It's a perfect example of crowdsourcing at its best. See, this isn't an official report from Verizon. It's a real-time map of the problem that's built from thousands and thousands of reports from people just like you. And all that crowdsourced data lets us look at this whole thing by the numbers. And believe me, this is where the true, just staggering scale of this disruption really starts to sink in. Okay, get ready for this. At its absolute peak around 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Down Detector logged almost 173,000 separate outage reports. Just think about that for a second. That's only the number of people who actually took the time to go online and report the problem. The real number of people affected? It was probably much, much higher. And what's really telling is the kind of problems people were having. A whopping 62% reported issues specifically with their mobile phone service. On top of that, another 34% said they had no signal at all. This shows you it wasn't just, slow internet. The core functions of the network, the absolute basics that let our phones connect and talk to each other, were failing for almost everybody. And if you look at the timeline, you can see just how fast this whole thing blew up. Reports absolutely spiked at 12:30. Now, yeah, they did start to come down within the hour, but look at that number at 1:22 p.m., still over 120,000 active reports. That tells you that even as engineers were scrambling to fix things, this problem was super persistent and was a long way from being over. So, in a crisis this big, all eyes immediately turn to the company itself. How they respond is absolutely critical. So let's take a look at how Verizon officially handled this massive service failure. The company hit social media with this statement. It's a pretty standard corporate crisis response, but it's so important because it does two things. One, it lets customers know that they're not going crazy, there is a real problem. And two, it signals that a fix is supposedly on the way. So, if you break it down, Verizon's whole message followed the classic crisis management playbook. Step 1, acknowledge the problem. Step 2, assure everyone your best people are on it. Step 3, apologize for the mess. It's a textbook, by-the-book approach that's really designed to manage customer anger during a big meltdown like this. But if we step back from the numbers and the corporate statements, what does an event like this really tell us? What does it say about how much we depend on this always-on, connected world? And here's something that's so important to remember. This whole thing was called a developing story. That phrase is everything because it means that at the time, the root cause was a complete mystery, probably even to Verizon's own engineers. Was it a software bug, a piece of hardware that just fried, something else? That uncertainty is a huge part of what makes this so significant. And all of this really leads us to one big, crucial question. We build everything, our work, our safety, our social lives on top of these invisible networks. And when they just go down, it shines a massive spotlight on a vulnerability we usually like to ignore. It really forces us to ask, just how fragile is this digital lifeline that we've all come to depend on so completely?